I'm going to call the meeting of the Brockton Zoning Board of Appeals for the month of July 9th, 2024 to order. The board sitting tonight is member Stephen Lianis, member Monique Greenberry, Fire Chief Brian Nardelli, member James Sweeney, and member Kenneth Galligan, myself, who is chair. Our zoning enforcement officer, the assistant building superintendent, clerk of the zoning board tonight is Mr. William Forte. I would ask anybody that has a cell phone or electronic device, if you can just silence it or shut it off, it would be appreciated so it doesn't disrupt the meeting. If you need to use a cell phone, I would appreciate it if you take your conversation out into the hallway. I will announce also that this meeting is being televised. It is live on Brockton Cable TV. It will be recorded and it will be played throughout the next month. Prior to the start of the meeting tonight, there is an opportunity for anyone to withdraw without prejudice. Is there anyone here tonight that wants to withdraw from tonight's hearing? Seeing none, we will proceed. The way the hearing will go is I will call the petition. I will read the petition. The petitioner will come up to the podium, make the presentation to the board, and when the petitioner has completed the petitioner's draft on what is going to be presented, I will then ask the board members if they have any questions about the testimony that was just given. If there is any questions, that would be the interaction between the petitioner and the board. Following that, I will close that portion of the hearing. I will ask if there's anyone here that wants to speak in favor. Following that, I'll ask if anyone is here that wants to speak in opposition. Following that, I'll ask if there's any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue. Lastly, I will ask if there is anyone in the chamber tonight that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given. Following that, I will close that portion of the hearing. That will conclude the public discussion on the issue. At that point, I will open it up for deliberation among board members. This is the part of the proceedings where only the board members will be discussing the testimony that would be given. At some point, you will hear a member make a motion to grant. If that is seconded, I will ask the clerk to call the roll, and at the end of the roll call, I will announce what the vote is. If the vote is 5-0 in favor, the petition will be granted. If the vote is 4-1, 4 positive, 1 negative, the petition will be granted. If the vote is 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, it will be denied. So for a petition to pass, it needs at least 4 affirmative votes. And I think that's all I got to say there. Board members, we all set to go? We go. All right. The first case before us tonight is petition 2430. The petition of Leon de Rosenville, 29 Rich Street, Boston, Mass., seeking relief from section 2727 for a variance to convert a single family into a two-family in an R13 zone located at 15 Brook Street. Please identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Eric Rainey. I am the partner of Leon Dorsonville Cave.
Could you spell your last name, please?
R-A-I-N-E-Y.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Make your statements.
Sure. Good evening, board. Our petition is to take a distressed property, which is currently a single-family home, and the suggestion to convert it to a two-family residence of 2 units of about 850 square feet each with 3 off-street parking, which already exists.
You are requesting a variance. On the request for a variance, you need to demonstrate a hardship. Do you have a hardship for this piece of property?
We do. The property's been distressed and vacant for some time now. It's going through, from what we have noticed, as several declined permits from previous ownership, and we acquired the property to help the neighborhood and bring this property back to a better standing.
Board members, any questions?
How many off-street parking spots are there?
There are 3 currently.
3?
Yes.
And that right-of-way I see on this plan, part of your parking goes into that right-of-way. What is that right-of-way?
Based on the survey, it was a very small portion of the lot that belongs to the restaurant next door, but their fencing is actually beyond the property, more onto their lot, so that the easement right-of-way that is there is not affected by our parking, because it's their fence that is currently there with a guardrail.
Have you had a conversation with the owner of that restaurant or anything to see if there's any chance that might be changed or something where you could lose those 2 spots?
They wouldn't lose 2. It was only about 3 to 4 feet of that was showing up on the survey as being part of that.
It looks like it cuts down the middle of both of those cars on the outer parking spaces.
The way that the survey was reading was that the fencing that is currently there was due to them having the requirement of their parking lot, and it did not affect our parking lot, and there was no concern with the owner of that property that they were pretending to move it or anything of the such.
Okay, so but was there a conversation with the owner?
Very slight conversation before we purchased the property. We talked to all the neighbors just to make sure that there was no concern.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Why are you referencing section 2727(3)E? You know?
Sorry. I thought there was a section that was actually the section that the building department suggested that we put in there for, I believe it might have been the floor area ratio.
Has this addition already been built out?
Yes, it is. Not by us.
No, it was by a prior
Correct.
owner?
Yes.
Okay,
The
and that-
home was completely gutted, completely sided addition, and they attempted to install plumbing and electrical. And at that point, we acquired the property as it is, framed and gutted out.
So a permit was given to them to do this work prior
No, that's what was declined. The electrical permit was declined.
because of the addition?
I think it was because of the homeowner tried to pull the permit themselves. They didn't have a licensed contractor to try to pull the permit, from what we saw on record.
Was there a permit pulled to do the addition as we see it?
No, we saw a building permit. It doesn't look as though they continue through with the permit. From what we noticed, that it was stopped somewhere during that cycle, and that's what we believe caused the owner to sell the home.
So I guess my concern is that what has been built there, has it been inspected? Has it been approved by the building inspector as to what has been done? We don't
There
know.
was no rough inspection because the plumbing and electrical permit were denied as we talked to the building department.
So,
Can you, go ahead.
no, go right. I guess my question is this then. So if you are granted this evening, a lot of work's going to have to be done inside because no permits were pulled. Are you planning on taking everything so they can rough everything and do everything and look at everything
Absolutely
again?
correct. We would bring everything up to code as need be, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Do you know what the setback is from the back of the house to the rear property line?
Let me check. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is exactly. Is it on the survey?
Should be on the survey.
Yep.
Marked off on the survey. And 42. Roughly about 40 feet.
You're saying 30 feet?
Roughly about 40 feet.
40 feet, according to the
The house is
survey.
42 and the total lot's 84.
Okay, I estimate it to be 38 feet for
Okay.
my calculations. When I went there and looked at it, it did not look like 38 feet from the back of the house to that back fence. I couldn't get on the other side of the fence, but from the parking lot, I was just curious to see what that size is. Can you tell us how big the parking spaces are that you provided off of Brook Street?
The current parking spaces, again, minus that 4-foot buffer, I believe was coming in about 20, no, sorry, not 25. We did not identify the parking with 2 cars, 10 feet, 20, 30, about, I don't want to be roughly off, but it probably looks like about 30 feet. If it's 10 to 12 feet per width of parking
They're
space.
19 feet deep, but I believe they're only 10 feet wide. But it's 19
10
feet.
each one, so you're talking about 20 feet total?
Yeah, 20 feet in width, and it's 19 feet in depth.
To the house,
Yes,
to the jog?
yes.
Okay.
No, not to the jog, to the parking spaces. The first set of parking spaces.
I see, yeah, I see it now, yep.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, if I could, is the back egress built? I couldn't see, and I didn't go on the restaurant.
Not for the second floor, no. We need to acquire the variance to convert it to a two-family to add the second floor egress, which we do have on the architectural plans.
That will be built?
Yes.
Correct, yes, yes.
You're going to add an exterior stairway to the left rear of this house, correct?
Correct.
All right. You are going to require a special permit for that stairway. Any exterior stairway requires a special permit. All right. Is there any intention to develop the basement into living space?
No,
I noticed there was a new large window that was installed in the basement.
the cutout of the windows are already currently there. So we're adding a new window to where the current foundation is knocked out.
So are you telling the board tonight that there is no intention to use the cellar for living space?
There is
For a
not.
separate apartment?
Correct. It is just the first and second floors. Nothing in the basement, nothing in the attic.
So your intention is to put an apartment on floor number 2 and an apartment on floor number 1?
Correct.
Correct.
You're telling us that you purchased this property without the necessary inspections done? You bought it pretty much as is?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
And now you are in a position where you are being required by the city to come up to zoning regulation and to get the proper permits?
Correct.
Okay, any other questions? Everybody's good? All right, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for discussion among board members. Board members.
Motion to grant.
Well, let's talk about a few things here first.
So I think it's a disaster right now, let's be frank. You drive by it, it's an eyesore. There's a lot of families in that neighborhood who I actually stopped yesterday, and someone actually came outside and actually said, are you guys doing anything about this? So I think improvements, obviously, would be very beneficial. I think, you know, the parking part is a little concerning to me because it is a very congested neighborhood. Obviously, if we were to grant this, we would need to add a special permit to it for the stairwell in the rear as a condition. But, you know, I don't, it could remain a single-family home as long as it's spruced up. But I think, you know, listening to the petitioner, their minds are in the right place, and they want to work with the city to make sure it's appropriately permitted and everything is done to the letter of the law. You know, they kind of walked into something. It sounds like that they was kind of a catastrophe when they purchased it. Those are just my thoughts off the top. But a condition for a special permit would have to be also added into this.
I have a question of the building inspector. If this were to be granted, we could stipulate that all necessary permits are achieved, granted by the city of Brockton. We cannot force you to grant whatever, but I think the feeling of the board certainly would be that from the testimony we heard tonight, would it be an understanding that if this was granted, that all of the required inspections and permits would be taken care of before this place received a certificate of occupancy?
Mr. Chair, there is a current application on file pending. One of the reasons why I rejected it was because the requirements for a special permit for the means of egress stairways in the back. I was not aware that it was ever created as a two-family, so this would be taking care of a lot. But I could make note in the inspection that I don't know where they are, inspection-wise in the process. I know that there was a permit granted in '22, I think, and it kind of fell apart. So I can make note in the system that whoever inspects that, we have to go back and make sure that, wiring, plumbing, the 1-hour fire rated assembly between floors is okay. And I don't know that you want to condition, the basement not being finished or,
I think what I would feel comfortable with is that a certificate of occupancy cannot be granted until all required permits and inspections are completed. That would be simple language.
Yeah.
That kind of puts it on the shoulders of the building inspector that to assure the zoning board that all this stuff will be taken care of.
Yeah.
All right, we got two things at work here now. They're requesting a variance, and you will have to consider the hardship as it was proposed. And also, they should be requesting a special permit for the addition of the new stairway on the left rear, which will be within the setback. So that stairway will require a variance because it's in the setback and it's a special permit. So there's several things at work here. I would say we should be looking at a variance, we should be looking at a special permit, and no occupancy until the occupancy permit is granted by the building officials.
With those
It is a
conditions,
multifamily neighborhood.
It fits a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't now because it's grotesque, but
it's an improvement amongst the neighborhood for sure. With those stipulations, motion to grant.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to grant with those stipulations. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lannis,
Yes.
Chief Nardelli,
yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry,
Yes.
Mr. Galligan, Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that is 5-0 in the affirmative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition for a special permit and variance is granted.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
The next petition is 2431, the petition of Robert Belcher, trustee, Sonar Realty Trust, Post Office Box 267, Milton, Mass. 02187, for a special permit and variance, seeking relief from Article 9, Section 2734, to allow residential units with 102 parking spaces in an I-2 zone located 159 North Main Street.
Yes, good evening. My name is Dan Orwig. I represent Robert Belcher and Tony Blaze, his attorney, who couldn't be here this evening. We have spent the last 15 months permitting through planning and economic development this project. And we have all approvals from engineering, from planning and development. And of course, it took 15 months, and we only had 12 months to for the variance. So what we're requesting is another 12 months so that we can do construction drawings and find financing. We're working on both of those right now. We think we've done everything that the city has requested of us, and we have a good plan, and the tax credit area is coming up, and we would like your support. I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, if I could, when is your plan to break ground on this project, given an approval?
Well, within the 12-month period.
Okay, so it's
Yeah, so
it's loose within a year.
yeah, within a year, yes.
You're asking for both a special permit and a variance. Can you explain to the board what the hardship is relative to the variance?
Well, for the variance, it's a kind of a dilapidated building that has minimal potential to be renovated into anything. It's a one-story building. It's in terrible shape. And the shape of the property is a problem in that one area on Charles Street, the area slopes off and it's all a concrete structure on that portion of the building. And we think that a residential use in this area, there are 2 other projects immediate to this area that are being renovated, and we think that this area is more likely residential than industrial.
So this petition was before us in the past, and I have a letter that's requesting a 1-year extension, and we cannot grant a 1-year extension. So this is a brand-new request.
Okay.
With a new set of plans. So it would appear that what we see before us tonight is what we saw in the past. The plans for that are totally, or not totally, but this one is much different than the one that we saw before.
Yes, it meets all the criteria that planning, economic development, and engineering require, and we have their approval on this set of plans.
Correct. And we have some letters relative to that, which is helpful.
Okay.
But I want you to understand that what we're considering tonight is granting a brand-new
I see.
variance and
Okay.
special permit, which would start the clock again for 1 year as a new variance.
I see.
So
Okay.
is it your petition, too, that what was before us in the past is no longer in the works? That's gone by?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, good, so we understand that. All of the parking that you have for this site, is it located on the site
Yes, it is.
with parking underneath in a garage?
Yes, on the first 2 levels, the basement and the first level. And there's limited outside parking. So that's 102 spaces, and that's been approved by planning and development and engineering.
So just for the edification of the board, this was before us over a year ago, and it was approved.
Yes,
And then time ran out, as you explained, and apparently a better plan from what was originally proposed is now before us tonight. And other city agencies that look into this have all looked at this and have all
yes.
basically voted in favor. of
Fire
the new
department,
plan.
all of the agencies that we have met with have approved these plans.
Has the number of apartments changed from the last time?
No, it's still at 50.
So it's 50 apartments, it's still 4 stories high,
Yep,
and 102 parking places.
yes,
So that's a ratio of at least 2 per unit.
that's correct.
Okay. I think it's kind of a regurgitation of what we had the last time around,
Yes, it is,
with a better plan.
but a better plan, yes.
That appears to be what we see. Board, right. Are you all through on your presentation?
Yes, I am.
All right,
Thank you.
board members, continuing questions, any? Everybody's good? Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Please come forward.
Hi, Ted.
Hello. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Ted Carmen, President of Concord Square Planning and Development. We have successfully developed 28 Petronelli Way into 18 market-rate apartments and 93 Center Street into 55 apartments. Petronelli Way is fully occupied. Center Street has 50 out of the 55 apartments occupied. We are also planning, as you know, because I was here a month ago, to build 100 units at 117 North Main Street, which is just south of Dan's project. And I simply want to say I've done a great deal of work on the market for market rate housing in this area, and we're convinced that there's basically an unlimited market for apartments. So we do not see additional apartment properties as being competitors, but rather as helping with the entire effort to upgrade the downtown and the center of the city. So I'm here to urge you to approve this request because we think it would help our projects, we think it would help the center of the city and be a big plus for the community.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor? We have a communication that has come from the planning, and planning supports this project and basically regurgitates what you said with all the work that has been done to get this far with planning. So they are in support of that. We also have another letter that has come in from Jed Horesco from 147 Center Street. It says, I support the applicant's proposal to build 50 condominium units at 159 North Main Street because so few of the developments in or near downtown included ownership opportunities. Please grant the applicant the extension. Owners are more invested in the future of Brockton than renters. As a condo owner and condo trustee, I know this to be the case. So there's two letters in support.
Nice. Thank you.
All right, anyone else who wants to speak in support? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Councilor.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Jeff Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. I'd like to speak in favor of the granting of this new variance petition. This project has been spoken about within the city for the last few years. It's a good project that's continuing the vital development of this really old industrial area downtown that really serves no more use for our city, and we're looking to develop this industrial area into more residential area, and this project will do just that. I believe this is the third iteration of this project, and it gets better every time it comes before us. So I think it's a great project. I think it will really provide needed upkeep and revitalization to this area, and so I ask that you support it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor of elected officials? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. I'll close that portion of the hearing. I'll now open it up for discussion among board members. Board members.
I just think it's nice to see support amongst the developers. It kind of, reassures what we're doing in the downtown. But other than that, I don't have any other comments on it.
I just think, I think we've seen a few of these now with the same project, and I think, some of the major concerns we had with the first one, with where it was located, how it was situated, the parking situation, I think they've really done a nice job of trying to help work around that and make sure that it was no longer a concern of ours, because that can be a very congested neighborhood at different times of the evening and into the night. So I personally appreciate that, just knowing what it's, Charles Street can be difficult, and all of those streets, even North Main Street, can be difficult in that area at times. So I think I really appreciate their ability to come back to us with something that works for the neighborhood as a whole, not just for what they're trying to develop.
That area has had its challenges for a number of years, and it would appear that what is before us tonight is a good workable solution to upgrading that portion of North Main Street and also to provide condominium housing.
I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Landis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
And Chair Gallagher.
Yes.
Galligan, sorry. Galligan.
Get that straight, will you?
Okay. Mr. Chair, that is 5 in the affirmative,
None in the negative.
none in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted. Good luck.
Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies.
The next petition, 2432, the petition of Caranda and Carly Real Estate LLC, 22 McDonald Drive, Randolph, Mass., seeking relief from Section 27.9 for a variance to rebuild a residential structure that will be raised in an R1C zone located at 10 Exeter Street.
Chairman Galligan, esteemed members of the committee, Attorney Philip Nesrella, representing the applicant, together with Scott Faria from J.K. Holmgren. This evening's presentation is pretty much straightforward. The applicant, the property is owned under the LLC, but it's resided in by the owner-applicant, Colleen Shirillis. And her intent was to do some changes and renovations in the home until she ran across a rather disastrous issue. When she was greeted by the contractors, she was informed after inspection of the property that there was structural defect with one side of a foundation, and the break in the foundation was causing to compromise the integrity of the structure, and the recommendation was that the property has to be raised because you can't work on one side of a foundation, without addressing the other 3 sides. So the contractor, who I was hoping would be here this evening, Mr. Nissan, is not, but he indicated there is no question the whole structure has to be taken down. So where she is now in the process of preparing to raise the property and rebuild it, I wasn't quite certain that we would need a variance for this, but we were told we had to seek a variance. But in that process, she also related to me that she is a single mother living with her children, and her parents are there with her, and the purpose of the renovation was to address some of the cramped quarters that she's had. In the process of dealing with not only the site plan, but with the architect, it was decided that the better way to proceed in rebuilding this property was to give her more living space by expanding it in a vertical fashion, not to expand it, because she already has an issue with the sideline. She's close to that. That's the way it always has been. But if she were to extend it vertically by adding only bedrooms and bathrooms, it's not intended to be a 2-family. It's intended to be a larger single-family home that would accommodate the lifestyle and the people that she is living with without expanding any of the borders or sidelines and affronting that as well. I think it would be an acceptance of this proposal would certainly adjust her lifestyle and make it a lot better. It would be aesthetically for the property, and it would also resolve the issue she now has with the deteriorating foundation that has to be repaired. With that in mind, I would ask if there are any questions, and would also ask for the board's recommended favorable vote in this application.
Board members.
Real quick, so the plans I'm looking at, the first set of plans, Mr. Ferry, you might be able to answer this the best. All the red sketch is all what was there before, if I understand correctly. Well, what's dilapidated there now when you drive by it, because that's pretty interesting to see. And then the new one are the plans below that, is what I figured, so, okay.
Apparently, I left out one thing. I was told, when I asked, well, how do the foundations deteriorate? And I was told by the contractor, it is not a cement foundation. It was constructed from rubble, whatever that is.
Okay. Are there any concerns with water? Because it's considerably lower, and this is just on my own thought, it's considerably lower than the house that is actually out on Guile that's in front of it. No worries with that or anything that you're saying? Okay.
There is a wetland off-site. We've got a conservation filing, that we have an application pending with it, but no wetland,
Okay.
no water issues.
Okay. And I see that mailbox, and this is just from the firefighter side of this. There's going to need to be, obviously, there hasn't been a house there for quite some time. Would the owner be okay with putting some sort of sign up there that says 10 Exeter on that corner on the Guile side? Because I think a lot of people that come down there, they don't even realize that's Exeter on the opposite side. They'll go to the other side to go up Exeter to that other dead end side and not the yes. And my concern is we want to make sure we don't miss anything. So I would hope that the owner would be, because this is going to be owner occupied, I understand, Mr. Nezarella.
That includes me, Chief. I had to call her from the street because I couldn't tell which house it was. So,
So you had to drive there down there like me?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they would be, obviously, would like to, we'd like them to put something out there to show that the house is there, because...
Work with the DPW on that.
Perfect, yeah. Because that's the only house on the street, because the other one's in a Guile Road address, right? On that end of it, on that side of it, correct? Yep, okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Is this new dwelling going to have a basement?
Looks like,
Full basement? So on the topography of where it's located, you're confident that the wetlands, which is a distance away, will not negatively impact that basement? Are they going to, in other words, are they going to build this up higher, or what's the plan for the final plan here?
Just with the existing ground, there's about a 5-foot drop to the wetland, to the stream that goes there. So they'll be above the stream elevation with
The floor of the foundation?
with the basement floor, correct.
So with this building totally removed, we now have a raw piece of property with the intent to put the new dwelling in the same footprint as the old one?
Correct.
That's where we're at. Okay, now, can you explain to us what the situation is with the street itself? When I went over there, I couldn't even get near this house. How is that going to be addressed?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, the street is the street, unless we can ask the city agency to facilitate that particular street. The street is not in the best of conditions. The property will be converted to basically the same thing as what it is now. So what we will have, as far as access and egress, is the same as what we have now, unless I'm missing what your specific issue is.
I don't see the city constructing that street for the benefit of one house. My question that I'm concerned with is that the blacktop that's there now actually looks like a large driveway that leads down to this house.
Right.
From the end of that current blacktop down to the house, what's the plans for that? I would hope that that would be paved.
Well, I believe that's a public road.
I agree.
it says private. I'm just looking at the plans that you provided. It does say a private road. It's probably not accepted.
Right, it hasn't been accepted.
Yeah.
It's an old private way.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume, we have a proposed paved area, but that's more of a walkway. I would assume they're going to increase the driveway a little bit, just to have a better driveway leading up to the house.
I would think this house is going to have some kind of a driveway.
Right. Yep.
So that driveway right now looks like it comes out to dirt.
Right.
So would the petitioner connect that new driveway to the end of the blacktop as we see it today? I mean, are we going to expect that anybody that goes over there, whether it be public safety, whether it be the mailman, whoever goes over there making deliveries, we're driving down an unimproved dirt slope to that house. Just, what's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that I hate to use the expression, it is what it is. I don't know if I could feel comfortable me extending on behalf of the homeowner that they will remediate the street. I think they should make the driveway and make it have a facility to it that it has access and egress without a problem, but I think dealing with the street is more of another issue that I don't know if they were anticipating that's something they would have to address.
Well, this is almost like us dealing with an unconstructed street.
But it's the same street that's always existed.
I realize that.
I know, and I agree with what you're saying. It is like dealing with that.
It's almost like a new development on an unconstructed street with a house sitting out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. But I'm just being forthright with you as much as I can that she's put her life savings together to rebuild this thing and do it right for the family. If I will suggest to her that if any of the street can be remediated, it would be an enhancement to the house in its value and also a facility to those who are coming and going. But beyond that, I really, quite frankly, don't know what I can do as far as addressing the street.
Well, maybe at some point, some help can come from somebody who would have an answer to that. So the plan is to put a driveway next to this house.
Yes.
Can you tell the board what this house is going to look like when it's constructed?
I believe there were some plans submitted with the application showing the house.
I didn't see anything.
No?
We have them digitally. The only thing I like about it digitally.
It was submitted for those digitally acceptable people.
Which I'm not one of them, but I can see them on this.
Right.
I have one up on the chairman here.
Yes.
So are you explaining that this is a two-story house?
Correct.
How many bedrooms?
There'll be 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms on the second floor. I have a copy if you want to look at it.
Of the plans?
Yeah, there was
I'd love to
something
see it.
online.
3 bedrooms in total, I think, correct? A master and 2.
So that looks like it sits on the exact same location.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So you're telling us it'll have a paved area, and we're hoping something can get done with that street relative to,
Yeah, I agree. I think something should, and I will inquire again the relevant city office that would handle that and ask if at least a short spurt could be dealt with to enhance the street
Right.
and for the safety.
I think if we were developing this lot with nothing on it right now, that would become a big issue. Where the house has sat there since 1930, and they've dealt with this situation, it's just a shame that it never got addressed over the years.
The only positive aspect is only house there.
And the hardship that you gave is basically the condition of the house. It cannot be saved, the foundation cannot be saved, and
That is
that's
correct.
financial hardship. And
That's
you're
correct.
asking relief from side yard setback, front yard setback, rear yard looks okay.
That is correct, and that relief would be because of the issues that exist as it now stands, they have those same dimensions. They'll be the same dimensions after we raise it and rebuild as it is before, as it presently stands.
And you mentioned also the shape, which is,
Well, the shape of the lot, as you can see, it's not a square or rectangular. It's an odd shape, and the house is somewhat juxtaposed within that lot. So there's the oddities there which contribute to the hardship aspect.
very good. Board members, any other questions? You got the engineer here, no questions for the engineer?
To go.
He's good? All right, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to speak on the issue? Counselor?
Good evening again, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Jeff Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. I'm really glad this matter's before the board. This house has been in a dilapidated condition for quite a while now. The neighbors, we just recently held a neighborhood watch on Guild, well-attended, and they were expressing their concern about this house. Everybody was really happy that I believe sometime last year this matter went to a foreclosure auction and was purchased, and people are happy that there was going to be some renovations or new construction done, and then it went silent, and I now know why, conditions regarding the foundation. So if this board could, I'd ask that you support the granting of this variance so that this house can be rebuilt. The neighbors are really concerned about a fire hazard, squatting issues, and so just kind of having an ugly house in their backyard. They raise concerns about hoping this house can get back to a better condition, and if you grant this variance, the homeowner can begin to do so. So I ask that you support the variance. When it comes to the street, it is a private way. What I can do as the city councilor is seek for this street to be accepted as a public way, and that would at least allow that street to be repaved by the city. Whether that's going to happen anytime soon or not, that's another question, especially for just one house. But I can at least begin the process of getting it accepted as a public way, and at that point, maybe sometime in the future, when the funds do allow for it, we could get this road paved. But the fact that this house can be put back online would be much appreciated and really go a long way to easing some of the concerns of the neighbors. So I ask that you support this variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other elected official who wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That will conclude the public hearing. I'll now open it up for discussion among the board members.
I think it's a good project just because of what I saw when I went over there. Not quite honestly even knowing that house even existed back there. And I think to the council's point of squatters, I obviously was thinking about the fire hazard and kids out there messing around. But the squatting portion of it as well. And I think, with the council potentially helping to work on maybe getting that accepted and potentially paved, I think it solves some of the problems we spoke of earlier. But I think, this is someone who wants to reside in Brockton and has purchased this property and it looks like to me ready to go to work and get the job done. They've already got all their other ducks in a row. So I think this is a good project that will be great, not only for the person building it, but also for the neighborhood and their concerns.
Yeah, I would agree. Leaving it in this condition is just unacceptable. So I would motion to approve.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted. The next petition is 2433, the petition of Waho Gomes Barbosa, care of Phil Nezarella Jr., Esquire, 1063 North Main Street, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Section 27-9 for a variance to construct a single-family dwelling on a pre-existing lot in an R1C zone located at 446 Forest Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again, for the record, Attorney Philip Nezarella representing the applicant, Mr. João Barbosa. And his application this evening is to erect a single-family home on the corner of Forest Avenue and Breer Street. The lot in question contains approximately 7,300 square feet, and the variance we are seeking is because of the area lot size. The other aspects, the sideline, front and rear setback, meet the dimensional requirements of the code. As you know, many of the lots throughout that area of equal size, 10,000, 8,000, throughout that whole section. The applicant, Mr. Faria, when we were looking to place the home, the proposed home on the lot, we did it such that the driveway would be facing Breer Street, so we didn't have to deal with traffic on Forest Avenue. We thought that was a safer position and a layout. It's pretty straightforward in that, again, the only relief is the area lot size, and that relief would make it consistent in the conformity with most of the other properties in that area, so it's not really a great leap. The issue, and I know sometimes is in the minds of some of the members, is whether or not, and my suggestion is that the particular Lot C is an independent lot. There is a deed, and we've had discussions before, that the deed that exists describes the whole area but states lots B and C. The position I have and the suggestion I make to the board is that a deed also sometimes seeks what the intent of the drafter is when he drafts a deed. Was it to make it all one lot, or does the lot get, the other lots get terminated by some act of a city official, an assessor, what have you? What salvages and protects Lot C as an independent lot is that there was a recorded plan at the Registry of Deeds going back to 1951, which designates Lot C as distinguished from the remaining lots. And there is case law, and I stated this in a brief, that suggests when you have a recorded deed and you also have a description when you have a recorded deed with a description and you also have a recorded plan, if there's any variance or doubt as to whether or not we have two lots or one lot, the recorded plan is superior and supersedes that of the deed. And the reason, one of the reasons for that is because it certainly portrays what the intent of the property owner was in designating and segregating that particular lot. And it also recognizes, the Registry of Deeds recognizes that oftentimes drafters of deeds could be administrative aides, they could be lawyers who don't do real estate and don't realize the consequence of what a running description may be from designating each lot and by meets and bounds within the deed. In this instance, again, the deed did designated two lots, but it is also clarified by the existence of a plan. And oftentimes these do get combined by the act of an assessor for the facility of issuing tax bills. But as we say at the Registry of Deeds, what the Recorder of Deeds has put together, don't let any municipal board put asunder. So what we are requesting is that zoning recognition be given to Lot B, Lot C that has survived throughout this, and it would be built again according to what the representations are and according to the draft on the plan. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them. And again, the driveway will be facing Breer Street.
Mr. Nuzzello, the deed was not included in this, correct? A copy of the deed and what it states?
I don't know if I sent in a pile of documents with the...
I didn't see it. I just see the tax records.
I have a copy of the deed if you'd like it. And it designates it, points to the two different lots.
If the chair would be okay with that, I think just because we don't see it, you know what I mean?
And if I may, I'll take the liberty of giving you the recorded plan.
Thank you, sir. Need better glasses.
And I also sent a brief in, Chief, that stated several Massachusetts cases from the courts that said if you have the deed and the plan supersedes what the deed is.
Okay, I don't think we got that digitally, that's why. Okay, thank you. So this predates...
1951.
1951 predates zoning?
By about 16, 17 years.
You guys want to see this?
All right, I have a plan here that a decision was made by the building inspector in 1997 that Lot A was a buildable lot. Lot B, which encompasses what you're showing as Lot B and C, was all one lot. And the decision was made in 2003 that that whole Lot BC combination was one lot. It is not a buildable lot. That's the lot that the house exists on, and it needs zoning board of approval for any subdivision. So apparently, the house lot and the garage and Lot C were all one lot. It almost looks like Lot A, B, and C at one time were all one piece of property.
My understanding is going back a while ago, there's a realtor who I actually knew, Joe Riley, who acquired those and had separate lots there. And two lots were combined to where the house is now, and the third lot remained vacant. I'm unsure what it is you're referring to that would have combined the lot in question to the other lots.
Well, I'm only going by the building inspector at the time made a determination, and there's no division line here that shows Lot B and C.
But it's on the recorded plan at the registry. Whatever he relied on, I would respectfully take issue with that, or whatever determination he made. Again, I don't think there can be an interpretation different than what we have on record. It's a recorded plan at the registry of deeds showing that lot. How it can be disregarded or a determination made contrary is not legally sustainable, in my opinion.
So if that's the case, what was the purpose of getting a deed?
You have to have a deed to describe the other lots as well. And when you convey property, it has to be conveyed via deed. You can't just give someone the plan.
And you're saying that's based upon the original plan that was recorded creating a Lot B and C?
That is correct.
And this says no, so it's opposite of that.
Yeah, well, I respectfully take issue with it.
Okay, as long as we understand that. Also, this proposed house, you've got 15 feet of rear yard setback and 16 feet of front setback. So is the variance for that setback?
Yes, for whatever setbacks or required relief, that is what the variance would be directed to. In particular, would be the area lot size. I think the other relief is minor in relation to the size of the lot and what else exists there, but it was primarily for the area lot size. But it's not to be eliminate the other relief we're seeking as well.
Well, I think it's very important. We need to consider the front yard setback, and we also need to consider the rear yard
I
setback.
agree. So I said I would include that as well.
So we're looking for a variance for relief from lot size, front yard setback, and rear yard setback.
Correct.
And the lot size is 7,300 square feet, and it requires 30,000 by today's standards.
Correct.
The driveway appears to be about 17 feet from the house to the sidewalk.
From what I can see, yes.
That's not on the plan, but my measurements show that that's 17 feet.
Okay.
The standard parking spot is 20 feet. My concern is if a car is pulled in that driveway, the back end of the car is going to be hanging over the sidewalk with a 16-foot setback from the house from the sidewalk.
Well, I suppose they could restructure the driveway to the left of the house.
Well, okay. All right, board members, any other questions?
What kind of house is it going to be? I don't see a plan on here at all. do we know what kind of house they're looking to put there? What it looks like?
Excuse me. It looks to me as a raised ranch. With your permission, may I just,
I just want to, as long as it like fits the neighborhood type thing is really what I'm getting at. Oh, okay, yep, thank you.
Is it just 2 levels?
yes.
Okay.
So if that's a raised ranch, is the 28 feet that we're seeing here the foundation size?
I believe so.
So a raised ranch usually has a 2-foot overhang in the front?
It doesn't look like it on that picture.
Doesn't look it on the
That looks like
the
it's a
photos.
straight wall front on that picture.
I can, just don't make any phone calls on the phone.
All right, any other questions from board members? Everybody's good? I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience tonight who has a question relative to the testimony that has been given. Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. I will now close the public discussion and open it up for board member discussion. Board members.
I think my only concern is the depth of the driveway, like we stated. I don't know if there would be the ability to put a stipulation in to maybe run the driveway up and also to the side of the garage, so they could park the car there so it wouldn't overhang the sidewalk. And not that I only bring that up, but the concern of safety of kids walking in that area, it is right around the corner from Brockton High School. So that would be my really only concern, if that could be a potential stipulation to run the driveway. And then, I mean, obviously they're going to park where they're going to park, but at least we've now
You mean
put
turn it to the side?
yeah, well, run it to the driveway, then like almost like it loop around to the side of the house as well.
It's because it's a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah, on that
schools
street.
in session, kids coming from everywhere.
I don't know if any of the board members noticed, but the setback of the houses on Brea Street in relation to the setback of this house, is it in conformance with other setbacks of other houses on that street?
When you get further down Brea towards Brea Circle, it is closer. I think the one that's listed under there is LaChance is further setback than what this would be. Not too much. It doesn't look like it'd be too much, but it is a little bit further setback. Then the rest of them are a little closer to the street, probably more in conformance with this.
There's no real sidewalk over there.
No, it's grass.
It's like
Yeah.
right there.
Could we stipulate that there couldn't be in the future a driveway on Forest Avenue? Okay.
I think we need to vote on what's before us. We can't re-engineer the plan.
Yeah, okay.
I think putting a driveway on Forest Avenue would be a disaster.
Right, that's what, you know.
Yeah.
Never get in
No,
and
this
out of that
works
driveway.
better than that. It just,
So the idea of putting the driveway where it is, I assume, looks like an under the house garage? So that's why the driveway's in the place that it's in, so that you can drive into the garage.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. So we can leave out the stipulation. I'd make a motion to grant,
Second.
if there's no other discussion.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lannis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that is 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative.
The vote is 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The petition is granted.
Thank you.
Just wanted to make sure you put the email from Susan.
But it's like here.
Yeah. Coming up on the next one? Yep.
I don't know. Copeland Street, right?
Just remind me if I forget.
No,
Remind me if I
sorry,
forget.
you're
Yeah.
right. I was speaking on the next one.
No, that, yeah.
All right, the next petition is 2434, the petition of
lost.
Skyview Village, care of Phil Nezarella Jr., 1063 North Main Street, Brockton, Mass., for a variance, seeking relief from Section 27.9, 27.25, and 27.29 to develop a residential structure on Lot B in an R1B zone located 454 Copeland Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again, for the record, Philip Nezarella representing the applicant this evening. And unfortunately, Scott Farrier had to run out to another meeting. I don't want to start fuddling with the plans, they'll be everywhere. But in any event, I assume you have them, you've seen them in front of you at some point in time. This is addressing property in the south side of Brockton known as Skyview Village, which is a residential zone that accommodates and addresses the needs for over 55. The property in question is a lot that we are looking to divide, and it is owned by Skyview, but will be incorporated in the district that is accommodating the over 55. I must say that the planning department and planning board had exercised its wisdom in designating a new zone, an R5 zone, which is for senior residential district to accommodate. In accommodating the over 55, it also had relaxed the standard restrictions on zoning for area lot size, setback requirements to accommodate smaller units. The whole purpose of the over 55 communities is that they are downsizing to get into these communities, so hence the need to lift those restrictions. And I'd say for me to say that the Skyview Village is a well-managed, well-kept, and well-run facility. In fact, one of the principal managers and operators is here this evening, Mr. Adam Kaufman of Skyview Village, who operates many of these similar types of facilities. The intent is to divide the existing lot into Lot B, which again will be absorbed on Skyview Village, who owns up to that Finney's Way. And they will exercise the same type of treatment with Lot B as they do with all the other units that they have in the area. This has been welcomed by their community in that all of the doors they knocked on, I think 35 out of 43 homes, all registered consent and agreement in welcoming this type of additional unit in that area, basically and primarily because they're so well-kept, well-managed. In fact, Skyview maintains its own roadways, even though they're public roads. They don't call on the city to do anything. They do the plowing, they do the repair, they do the maintenance, and they've been an asset to the city, an asset to the growing demands for additional residential units, as well as, in particular, the over 55 type of scenario. So we're asking the board to accept this plan and allow the use of Lot B by relaxing through variance, relaxing the requirements for the setback and area lot size, because it is now an R5 zone. That should not be problematic. The other relief we're seeking is Lot A will become smaller, so it's becoming non-conforming, and we're asking for relief on that as well. I think the overall result of this grant will be to make a more extended community in the R5 district, and those permits have been granted already by the planning board, and I think it will be an accommodation to the growing number of individuals, couples that need them in this particular use for the R5 over 55. I'll be happy to answer any questions on that. I don't know if Mr. Kaufman wants to add anything.
Hi, I'm Adam Kaufman, one of the owners of Skyview Village. We're a family business. We've owned and managed Skyview for 13 years now. When we purchased the property, it was half-filled, was struggling to sell homes. We made it through that economic downturn, and the community's been very successful. Majority of our residents are Brocktonians already. They have larger homes, have sold them, used their equity to purchase a new home at Skyview. The homes right now, which are good-sized homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, go for about $300,000. So it's super affordable for either it's single elderly women or elderly couples trying to have their own space on a smaller lot is how our community works, but they still have some outside yard to enjoy that we do take care of all the landscaping, all the plowing, everything. We have gated entrances. This proposed lot is off of a cul-de-sac already in our community called Finney's Way. It was an empty spot on a cul-de-sac that actually was not maintained for many years. So we would like to incorporate it into our property to make sure it is maintained for the future, because we do have 2 homes that abut it immediately. But all our residents and abutters were very receptive to the plan. Susan Nicastro, the ward counselor, I've met with her, I've gone over everything. She's submitted, I believe, a letter of support, but it's really just on this cul-de-sac, there's one vacant area, that's our access, that's where all our utilities come from. For these 2 homes, the residents will still come in through the gated entrances. So nothing is changing to the existing house off of Copeland Street. It's really just going to actually probably look more complete in our community, having this cul-de-sac instead of just this empty space there that was unused.
Board members.
So I'll be quite honest with you. I am so confused by this entire process. I don't mean to sound sarcastic, because that's not the way. I don't even know what I'm looking at with this. It's a gated community. You can't get in to look at it. So now I drive down Copeland Street. I'm trying to look through someone's backyard. It looks like we're going to have driveways going through existing lots that have houses on them, through now the B lot to get to the A lot. But the plan, I guess the thing is, someone needs to explain the plan to me, because
Okay.
I
guess if we can find it, that'll be the first step.
I can help, yeah. So the confusion is that when this is already Skyview that you're seeing here.
Why don't you take,
That's probably your confusion.
why don't you take, first of all, 2 things now. Take the tripod up close so the board can see it.
Sure.
And also bring the microphone with you so that we can hear what you're saying.
All right, so Susan Road is not included.
No.
Copeland Street's not included.
Right, so this is Finney's Way, so our main drag, Skyview Drive,
Gotcha.
that cuts from Copeland to Main Street at the Kmart Plaza end, is here.
Yeah.
So this is the edge of where
Sure.
our land currently is. So this is Skyview, these are our homes. That's what I'm saying is, so here, we didn't have any homes, and we already had these homes around it. So Copeland Street up here, nothing is changing on the top of the plan. Nothing at all. It was from this right now is just unused land. It's never been used. So right now we have the driveway going down to this house. They both have proposed garages with sufficient space for driveways in front of them as well. Similar to, we have another area in the community that looks exactly like this as well. But yeah, I could have given you the gate code to get in, but yeah, everything is still going to come through Finney's Way for the residents. That won't change.
But you're going over someone else's lot with that driveway to get to A and B. it looks to me like there's a
No,
piece.
this is Skyview land.
Yeah.
This is Skyview land for this lot.
So you own the land?
Yes.
They own the house? All right, I think that's important.
Yeah. and
Lead
it-
with that, because I think that's the problem.
Yeah, so in a manufactured housing community, it's technically one parcel of land, and then there are lots just for planning purpose and for the homes, but Skyview Village owns all the land, hence why we maintain it all. for
Understood.
that. So, yeah, these are just the proposed lot lines, but yeah, so this isn't going over anyone's land already.
That's your
This is-
land.
This is already Skyview's land, so we're saying essentially, he mapped it out for the individual home sites, but now, if you just went by the exterior, now the exterior will go through there.
Understood.
And I can understand with the confusion, because he can tell you how many times I called him so I could understand this, until such time he said to me, it's all owned by Skyview, they're just incorporating this extra piece here into their property.
All right, okay. I think,
Model, and part of it is why the zoning is different and setbacks for manufactured housing are unique, because it's structure to structure rather than lot line to lot line, because these are not actual.
it's different zoning.
That's why they created the R5 zone for that.
Understood.
That's why, so this, the planning board already approved it, because this, all this is in conformance for the proposed 2 units. All we're asking for is the lot size reduction from the existing Copeland house, but nothing's being done to the Copeland house. We're not touching it, it's gonna stay the same. It's just
That's the house that had the
incorporating
fire in it, I think. That house had a fire in
Fire
it.
many years
Yes.
ago, was completely rebuilt. Same foundation, but yes, they had to
But the only access will still be off of Finney's Way, nothing off of Copeland. It will just abut the back of that house on Copeland. What is the lot size of those lots?
This one's 17,
The ones that you guys own, that like,
oh, the proposed ones.
yeah, the ones you guys, the A and B that you guys are doing.
So this is
It's
11,200
about
square feet,
a little over 11,000.
but then there'll be more land that I own already will be
Over on the
added
bottom,
into
yeah,
it,
towards
on
the-
top of it, yeah. So I'm using like unused land here, which has got to be a couple thousand more square feet, plus that. But again, like, we're not, the lot sizes are just figure lines drawn. There's no restriction on that. It's the structure to structure.
Understood. Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. No, because I looked like I didn't even know what I was looking at when I looked at this. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Want me to leave this here for you?
I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
So many years ago, when we developed this piece of property down here, it came before us on variance, and all of these lot lines were divided out as you see them on here. And I would think that the parcel for house number 17 was the parcel that we see, which is along the cul-de-sac. So I would think that if I lived in house number 17, and I'm going to lose a substantial piece of the front of my property, I would have a concern about that. How do you answer that question?
So it's hard to see from that there, but first of all, they've never owned the land. Skyview Village owns the land. It's a land lease model, so they own their home but not the land, and as Skyview, we're responsible for maintaining it all. That land there is up against the fence, so the way their driveway, let me see if it shows. Yeah, so you can see their driveway comes off through here. This isn't usable area. They weren't using any of this on their lot. They don't use any of it. And like I say, we went around to everybody here and talked to them about it. But no, it's not to pull anything from that there. This is basically just outside of the roadway.
Okay, you answered my question. The petition that's before us tonight is to develop a residential structure on Lot B. I see 2 residential structures on Lot B.
There's one residential structure on Lot B.
And one on Lot A, correct?
There's one on Lot A. Lot A has a residential structure, and below it there's a pool. I don't know if that's what you might be looking
All right,
at.
I'm looking at Lot A, and right behind the pool, there is a dividing line, and the shed sits right on the dividing line.
I see what you're
I
saying.
guess I'm getting quite confused here myself.
Yeah, it looks like on Lot A, the only thing that's there is the pool.
Lot A ends
Right here.
just beyond the pool.
here.
Is that correct?
Right
Correct.
in front of
Correct.
the pool.
Lot B picks up from that dark line all the way down to almost to the cul-de-sac.
Yeah. Yeah. By the look of the plan, it looks like Lot A is the existing house,
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
and the pool is in the backyard of the existing house, and both of the houses you look to build look like they're in Lot B. So it doesn't, I guess you have to understand, we can only go by what we're looking at, to the chairman's point.
There's
And it
no
look-
question in my mind that those two dwellings are sitting on Lot B.
Yes.
The
I would
Lot A
agree.
property line goes from side yard to side yard behind the pool.
Well, I'm suggesting the reason why Mr. Ferrier put that there, because under the R5 code of the zoning ordinances, you're allowed to put structures 20 feet apart. So that would comply with the new zone, the R5 zone.
I think I think to the point, though, it's confusing to the chairman's point.
Are
when
we
you-
in an R5 or an R what? What zone we in?
It's a R1C zone, but a permit was granted by the planning board to designate this as R5, as I understand it.
So we're still dealing with an R1C.
The plan says R1B, I believe. Yeah, R1B for this zone, for Copeland Street
So
House.
to answer my question, to get my head around this, Lot A has a south boundary line that's 114 feet long, and it comes down to the word gate. Then it goes northerly to the shed. Then it goes easterly, then it goes northerly again, 45 feet, and then 150 feet back to Copeland Street.
Correct.
That is all Lot A.
Correct.
Correct, okay. What I'm looking at here now is the word that says irrigation, the well. It appears that that is sitting on parcel B.
Correct.
Correct.
All right, so the proposed dwelling that's right under the word irrigation, and then there is another proposed dwelling that's right next to the word parcel B. Aren't both of those sitting on the same parcel?
Yes.
So what's before us tonight is to create two dwellings on parcel B.
Well, it's to create a lot, which we can put the two dwellings used under the R5, because this would be absorbed and considered part of the R5 district.
All right, so there's where we have a difference of opinion. There is a section under, that only allows one principal dwelling on a lot. Not only are we dealing with setbacks here, but we're dealing with two principal dwellings sitting on one lot.
Now, I understand what you're stating. The way it was represented to me when it was drafted is a little different, and what I would probably ask the board to do, if we just break during this, allow me to make a call and see if I can get Mr. Farrier on the phone, who could probably give an explanation for this. When I say break, you could take the next case. I don't want to hold anybody up. Then I'll resume after the next case is heard.
So the question then is the dwelling that's sitting under the word irrigation going with Lot A? Is that what you're proposing?
No, the
No.
two proposed dwellings are
The
Lot
two
B.
proposed are on Lot B.
Lot B and a little bit into Skyview Village.
So can we say safely that this plot, which is marked parcel B, shows two proposed dwellings on parcel B and one existing dwelling on Lot A?
Correct.
Yes.
That is correct. And I am suggesting the reasoning for that was that the proposed dwellings, two on one lot, would function and operate as they do under this R5 senior residential zone that allows this. And that's what part of the variance is for, to allow us to use this in such fashion.
Okay.
And if there's anything I'm missing on that, I'd like to have that supplemented by the engineer.
So the proposal for the rear dwelling is to have a 12-foot wide driveway as the means of access to get to the rear dwelling.
Correct.
The proposed dwelling out front on parcel B, the driveway would come in off of that same 12-foot driveway, and it would go over onto the current, I'm going to say, property of number 17.
It comes down the 12-foot wide driveway and then turns a right to be in front of the garage.
Right. So the access to both of these houses is a 12-foot wide driveway that comes in from the cul-de-sac.
Correct.
Okay. Now, we're starting to understand this. So you're looking for relief to allow Lot A to be reduced in size,
Yes.
and you're looking to allow for 2 dwellings to be built on parcel B with relief from side yard setbacks or whatever.
Correct.
Front yard, I got side yard, rear yard, and front yard.
For Lot A, the relief is from the lot size area, but on Lot B, those are all conforming by the zoning for a manufactured housing community and are consistent with what's already in the community as well.
All right, on his map, it says zoning R1B residential. That's what he's got marked right here. So, all right, I think I fully understand it, that Lot A used to go all the way down to Finney's Way. You have purchased Lot A, which is the one that's out on Copeland Street. Do you currently own that piece of property?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the plan is to separate that piece of property and create Lot A and parcel B.
Correct.
Lot A will stay as it is with no changes.
Correct.
And this parcel B that you're creating, you want to put 2 manufactured dwellings on that lot.
Yes.
That's where we're at right now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's intended that Part B, the 2 manufactured homes would be incorporated within the Skyview Village scenario and function and act like the rest of them, and that's the purpose for the variance, so that we're allowed on our R1B zone to function this as it would be the R5 zone in use as 90% of the rest of the land under Skyview.
Can I just ask, though, why, if you are under the R5 for the special permit, why do you even have to come before us then?
Well, that was because we were separating A and B, and Lot A was going to be less in lot size than we have now. So by reducing
Okay.
it,
I see what you're saying.
making it a little non-conforming.
I got you. I understand.
And I agree, I questioned whether or not we needed relief, but for Lot A, because we were dividing that.
I feel like the R5 with the special permit almost kind of wipes all those other rules.
It does, except it doesn't
Doesn't do
wipe out
anything
what
for your
we're doing
Lot
with
A.
Lot 5. We still have to get permission from the board.
Understood.
All right, any other questions from the board members? Everybody's good? Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? I have a letter that has come in from Councilor Nicastro, and basically, I want to say she supports this application and hope that the board will also. The existing lot with the single-family home and pool are in common ownership with the property behind it that hosts and operates a successful over 55 community of prefab homes. The owners wish to subdivide the property so that they can erect 2 more prefab homes on the rear parcel. And if you grant this, the improved property on Copeland Street will still be as big as many neighborhood lots. So she is in favor of what's going on. All right, anybody else here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue, other than Councilman Castro's letter that I just read? Seeing none, I'll ask if there's anybody in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given. Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. I will now close the public hearing and open it up to board discussion. Board members?
I guess my thing is, I see what they're doing. I think the whole thing makes it very difficult when you look at the whole property as a whole with all these different lots. I still have in my head that we're using lots when under this R5, they're really using, because they own the land, it's one giant lot, they're using lineage from house to house, outside of the fact they're looking for the variance because of the side setbacks. So it's confusing because of the way it's set up, I think, more than what it really is. And I think that's why I was deeply confused even looking at this last few weeks. So that's really all I have to say about that. I understand the concept better now, I think, is probably my best way to
It's similar to condominium, detached condominiums, but still different in the land use.
Like a trailer park.
Right, right.
So it would appear that Lot A, that extended from Copeland Street all the way back to the property abutting Finney's Way, all that property is zoned R1B. So what they have done is broken off a section of R1B, and they want to now create housing as is currently existing on Finney's Way. Does that change the zoning of Parcel B? Parcel B still retains, in my opinion, its zoning of R1B.
No, and I understand, and I think the question too is, the special permit was written for R5, and just hear me out, correct me if I'm wrong, the R5 special permit was done for what was existing at the time. Now it's almost like we're asking, or they're asking, to increase the size of that R5 in the R1B. Do you see what I'm saying? They're asking for a bigger special permit to extend the R5.
Correct. They want to use the R1B as an R5. The zoning of the R1B delineation line has not changed.
Because that Lot A was previously R1B, it was not R5. Am I correct?
Lot A extended all the way from Copeland Street, all the way back to almost to Finney's Way. That was one big, long lot.
But there's, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not asking to increase the size of R5 on this.
So it would appear that this is the zoning line right here, even though it's not on this map.
You have nice big plans, I don't.
Okay, so
Sorry.
the Parcel B went with Lot A. They were all together as one. They purchased that entire piece of property and then subdivided it. They want to leave Lot A, which is the original house on Copeland Street, as it is, and create a new lot in back of that, which now would front on Finney's Way, and use that to put two manufactured housing on that lot. My concern is that lot is still R1B, which precludes putting two dwellings on one lot.
So is this lot divided? Are they asking us to divide the lot right now? I was
can't.
under the
It has been
assumption it
divided,
was
right?
already divided.
We can't divide a lot
Has this lot been divided?
by the planning board. We can't divide a
So it's
lot.
been divided. So then are you asking for us, like the fire chief said, to make it this R5 zone? Is that the true request? Because if this is still under the other zone, then they can't build two structures under the current zoning law.
Yeah,
Out zoning. So if one of the things that can be done is to grant a use variance to use this under the R1B, that would be an option. So the question is, do you have a deed which now describes the new Lot A? Has that been officially created?
I didn't participate in that. I can't tell you I do. No, I don't. My understanding was that the planning board allowed the division between Lot A and B and was designated Lot B to be under the R5 district. Again, Mr. Faria participated in that part, I did not.
Well, we got the planning board right here. What happened?
Well, I believe that was a subdivision approved.
Correct.
Whether it was, I don't know if it was divided or not, I couldn't.
Because that was the purpose of dividing it, so to use that as the R5.
I understand that, but we don't have
You
the
don't-
authority to create lots.
If I may, R1B provides for mobile home parks. So the zoning doesn't have to change for a mobile home park. I'm not familiar with R5. R1B does provide under a special permit.
Yes, but we're now, we're crossing the streams here, I think is what the chairman's getting at. We're talking R1B, we're talking R5, special permits. I think we're talking too many different parts and parcels. Am I correct, Chairman, in that?
Yes. And I think you got to look at density, accessibility to the building in the back. It's only a 12-foot driveway that gives you access to the rear of the building. We're in discussion among ourselves right here, right now.
Yeah.
Correct. I don't know that Lot A has been created by D. They may have created it, and the argument is that lot is in conformance with many other lots in the street, other than the street the building you see to the left of it, which is also a very deep lot. But I think my concern is they've taken this Lot A, Lot B that was combined, separated it. Parcel B still maintains its original zoning, which is on the plan here, which is R1B, and they now want to use it as an R5, and they want to create space on that lot, on a single lot, to put 2 homes. I think throughout this whole Finney's Way and this whole development, each unit sits on its own separate lot. I don't know of any other lots where there are 2 units sitting on a single lot. My concern is that under 27-9, it only allows 1 residential building and 2 outbuildings on 1 single lot. So what's going on here is 2 manufactured dwellings to be placed on 1 lot. And again, my own opinion here is the driveway that serves that back house is only a 12-foot driveway. For public safety issues, trying to even find that house in the back, I don't know how you even find the place.
Yep. It goes to the whole thing with Exeter.
I think it would make more sense to put 1 dwelling on this house, on this lot, that would have direct access from Finney's Way. I'm very concerned about that back house that you're never going to find the place. And if somebody parks in that 12-foot driveway, the whole access to that back house is closed. So I understand the intent, but I think what I'm looking at is challenging. So the shed now becomes sitting on the property line. That's supposed to be 5 feet from the property line. They should be asking for relief from the side yard setback for the shed. They need relief from the lot size of Lot A because they're reducing that lot size. There's a lot of work here.
Let's make a motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Now, what are we granting? We're granting them the ability to place 2 dwellings on parcel B, and we are allowing them to reduce the size of Lot A to a new dimension of 17,774 square feet. Is that what we're voting on?
Sure.
Yep.
I think so.
All right, clerk will please call the roll.
Mr. Lannis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
No.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 2 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative.
The vote is 2 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. The petition as presented is denied. Thank you. right, the next petition is 2435, the petition of New Vision Enterprises LLC, Joseph Goncalves, manager, 188 Court Street, Brockton, Mass., for a special permit to allow for a 46 residential unit building, 5 stories, in a C3 zone located at Lot A, 40 Petronelli Way.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Chris Vale on behalf of the petitioner, Joseph Goncalves. Present with me is Kevin Patton from BKA Architecture. The petitioner, Joseph Goncalves, as manager of Ringside Properties, is returning to the zoning board to apply for a special permit to allow a multifamily residential use in a C3 zone under Article 4, Section 2733B, with a waiver of the space standards in the R3 zone. Mr. Goncalves also seeks relief for parking to allow for 1 space per dwelling unit. I don't know if the board remembers, but back in September of 2022, Mr. Goncalves was granted relief for this same proposed property. Since that approval from the board, he has received approval from the city site plan as well as technical review. However, due to the feasibility of completing the project that was brought forward to you, with rising interest rates and construction costs, Mr. Goncalves has modified the original plan. That's why we're back to the board. This modification is to remove 1 story of the apartment building to reduce density. The new proposal will have now 46 units and will also now include 4 parking spaces that will be allocated for guests. There will be a total of 50 parking spaces. In addition, the building height will be more in unison to the height of the buildings in that area, that being 5 stories. The property right now is a vacant parcel of land in the downtown area, which is adjacent to the old Petronelli's boxing gym, in which the city has constructed a new street and sidewalk on the easterly side of the building. Across the new street and running the length of the petitioner's building is the new park, which commemorates Marvelous Marvin Hagler. The petitioner has experience in developing high-end projects of this nature, in which this luxury apartment building will have the following amenities of 34 one-bedroom units, 12 two-bedroom units with 2 full baths, a co-working area on the top floor, high-end fitness space on the top floor, laundry facilities in each unit, delivery space for U.S. Postal, UPS, and FedEx, and as I said, 1-to-1 parking spaces per unit with 31 on-site, which 19 is to be leased from the city at the garage across from Petronelli Way, and there will be 4 additional guest parking spots in front of the building on site with a total of 50 parking spots. There'll be high-tech security with fob access garage doors, as well as the building is designed to provide maximum sunlight to each unit, as well as provide the same for the adjacent property on Petronelli Way. We hope that the board will accept this modification and allow a luxury residence of this nature that will enhance the positive growth and vitality of downtown Brockton. I do also want to pass in a note or a letter from the parking authority, which on the last date, he did have a lease agreement of 19 on-site. I don't know if you received it.
That's the one we have, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we have that one. It's a new one. There was 2 of them. There was the earlier one and this one.
July 8th, yeah.
Yeah, we have the new one.
We do
now.
have
July 8th
the
as
same
well.
amount of leased parking from the parking authority, which they did grant for this project. So we are asking you to allow the modification based on what I've told you before.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
So losing 4 units, gaining 4 spots, and we're downgrading it a little bit on account of financial reasoning.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the original plan was how many stories?
6 stories.
6, and it's reduced to 5.
Correct.
All of the parking places in the garage are 162 square feet, is that correct?
That is correct.
Is there any particular reason why thought wasn't given to some 180s and a mixture of 180s and 162?
So in some areas of the parking garage, the depth of the space is a little bit more than 18 feet, but it doesn't reach 20 feet. But we did try to maximize, considering going through planning board, some architectural treatments on the outside, making sure nothing overhung the backside of the city sidewalk. And we have a right-of-way that we need to respect between us and the Petronelli building. The parking spaces being maximized left us with really what we have to work with. And the 9x18, which is allowed under the 40R zoning, and it seems to be a more standardized space these days in the city.
Okay. This plan, in its prior life, was approved with the 19 spaces being provided by the parking authority. The letter that came at that time in 2022 had expired. So we now have a new letter of July 8th with that same expectation of 19 spaces.
That's correct. We wanted to provide that, but they were meeting, I believe, when the 7th or a few days ago, so we weren't able to get a letter to include with the application, but that's why I brought it tonight.
I think it's a very important document. Is there any reason why you are not asking for a variance in addition to the special permit? My reading is the special permit allows residential in a C3, and then it basically says, and in consideration of the requirements in 27.9 under R3, which is setbacks, things of that nature. Are you proposing that those requirements are all umbrellaed under the special permit?
I am, and my rationale was because the special permit was passed back in September of 2022 by this board. I wanted to do the same application that I did back then today.
Okay, I think it's important to bring that out for the board's edification, that if this is granted as a special permit, it also is addressing those setback issues relative to the special permit in the 27.9R3, which requires certain setbacks. And in this case, there is virtually very little setback. So the special permit that we granted last time took that into consideration, and it is your request tonight that that be considered the same as the last time.
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, I think it's important to say that. So virtually everything about this plan, other than the top floor, is pretty much the same as the last one that we approved?
Besides 4 less units, density.
And 1 less floor?
And 1 less floor, yes.
Okay. The architectural style of the building and everything is the same as what it was before?
So speaking to architecture, I did bring the boards that were submitted in the previous variance request. They're on the lower portion of that easel. So we needed to reduce the amount of masonry due to cost and other requirements for staging. However, the mixture of the materials are still the same. We still have masonry at the bottom of the building, and we still have fiber cement. The fiber cement is treated differently Going through the planning board process, we wanted to warm up the building, bring it back into the tones that are a little bit more familiar with downtown Brockton. So there were architectural treatment changes going through the planning board process, and they're similar to what you see now on the top rendering.
So basically, the color that we see there is close to the color of the finished product.
Correct. Of the top rendering will be closer to the constructed building.
Okay. Board members, any other questions? Everybody's good? Good. Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
My name is Ted Carmen. I'm president of Concord Square Planning and Development. We developed the building next door, 28 Petronelli Way. In the 18 apartments, it was the location of the Petronelli gym where Marvin Hagler trained for so many years. I would like to say that one of the reasons our investors were willing to put as much money up as they did for this project and also for 93 Center Street is because of the comprehensive plan the city has had for the downtown. And Joe's proposal for this site is an excellent step in moving that plan forward. We are very much in favor of having it go forward and support it completely.
Very good, thank you. Anybody else, any other member, any other person in the audience that would like to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone here that let me see, have I got a letter? No letters? Support, no letters? Okay, good. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Jeff Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. I am ecstatically in favor of the approval of this special permit. This matter's been before the board, and it was, I believe, unanimously approved. And it's a beautiful building that's really going to revitalize this part of our downtown. It's in keeping with the urban renewal plan of downtown. And I know we were last month we were talking about some developers, with the increased interest rates that they'd probably have to come back before you, maybe downscoping their projects. And Mr. Goncalves is asking for that. Mr. Goncalves is a proven developer in the city of Brockton, and this is going to be a great building. It's going to be a little smaller, but again, it's going to increase parking for this development. And I just ask that you vote in favor of this special permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other elected official who wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. I will now conclude the public discussion, and I'll open it up for discussion among board members.
No, I think this project is in stride with the city's master plan, and I'm certainly in favor of it.
I agree.
I think Mr. Goncalves has made it very clear that his intent is to build a well-made building by any stretch. You've seen the work he's already done. I think it's important, to your point, Mr. Chair, about the extension of those parking spots as we get to be at the very end of our parking situation downtown, and that letter dated July 8th versus the one 2 years ago, I think makes us take a little bit better of a deep breath as to the parking situation. I think, just my own opinion, they need to bring more stores downtown, because we're going to get to a point where these folks aren't going to be able to have cars down there, and they're going to be able to have to shop in their neighborhoods, and that's a bigger plan issue. So I just hope that we're doing these folks a service by putting them in these very nice apartments. It's very nice to see Mr. Carmen here tonight speaking on both of these projects, because I think it shows the devotion of these builders in our city downtown to make sure that they're putting their right foot forward to make that area whole again. I mean, it's empty parking lots now that a lot of times aren't used. So I think, bringing people down there, it's going to increase what you're going to need for parking, but seeing what we have and what the agreements they've made with the city to make this happen, I think is important, and I think they're looking at all avenues of this. So I think this is a strong project that, I look forward to seeing down there, because we just see what's changed already with what's already gone on, and it as a lifelong Brocktonian, it makes me feel good to see that area is being used in a more suitable fashion now.
I would agree with that.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Chief.
Last time this was before us, I voted in favor of this. I, too, want to just express a concern that was brought up by the fire chief, that the availability of parking in the downtown area is reaching a critical stage. When you look at this lot that we're dealing with tonight, there are 55 public parking places that have been lost. The project across the street that we approved a couple of months ago, over 40 spots were lost. So there's over 90 parking places that used to be available to the public that are no longer there. I think serious consideration has got to come to providing on-site parking, the availability of off-site parking, whether it be in a garage, on a lot. I think it's going to do some serious soul searching to make sure that that will continue to be there in years to come. Whether we're almost reaching a point where we need an additional parking garage downtown, if the thoughts of the city is to develop a lot of these through use variances into residential occupancies, I think a good hard look has got to be taken on the availability of parking. And 5 years from now, we may find that we may have almost got into a parking crisis. So tonight, that's not the case because you have provided parking. The parking authority says they can handle what you're requesting. But at some point down the road, some serious thoughts have got to be given to parking generally in that part of the city, in the downtown area. So I think it's a good plan. I concur that it's pretty much what we saw before, downsized. Yeah.
Just to comment on the parking situation. As we grow downtown, I just think that there needs to be the growing demand before we get the investment. So it is a part of the growing pains of a growing city. So,
and to that point, I agree, but I think, and again, this is a topic for another time, and I don't want to take up any more time. I think there needs to be a plan for shopping downtown, because as we lose parking, these folks that we keep talking about, we're going to put them, they're going to get on trains, they're going to do a number of different things. There has to be shopping for these folks, because they're not going to have the cars to drive to the grocery stores, because they're not going to have the parking to do it. So that's just, the chairman and I talk about this at great length often, and getting in early now and getting parking is a huge component of this, because there's not going to be soon, and that's the concern. So that's just to my point.
Motion to approve.
So what we're voting on tonight is a use variance, a use, special permit use for this piece of property. So,
second.
Clerk, the motion's been made and seconded. The clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Landis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that is 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition as presented is granted.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
How you doing?
You don't need anything from Scott with his drawings?
No.
Okay.
Who would have thought you'd have a parking problem 10 years ago?
Well, times change.
I guess.
Yeah. All right, so the next petition is 2436, the petition of Affordable Properties LLC, 33 Dover Street, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Article 3, Section 2729, and Article 3, Section 2713A, for a variance to construct a single-family home on Lot 35 in an R1C zone located at 145 Hovenden Avenue.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, Secretary. Attorney John McCluskey with Zoo, our esteemed surveyor, engineer, and Tori, who is here as the owner of the property. What we're asking for this evening, and I just noticed a typo on my application. In the application included a 2712 relief, but that's not the case. We're not looking for a 2712 relief. We realize that our wishful thinking with the building inspector fell through.
So in your presentation, be specific on what you're looking for.
Yes, we're looking for a variance. I just wanted to note that on the application, requested, it says variance, and then it says other 2712 relief, and we do not have an argument for a 2712 relief. So that's all I'm saying, is that we're not looking for that. So what we are looking for is for a variance. The history here is that these two parcels of land, which show as separate parcels, were originally shown on a plan of land recorded in the registry of deeds back in the 1800s. It's in the package of information, and it's Lot 35 and Lot 36. Mr. Farwell and his family owned both parcels. They lived in this home right here on Lot 36, and over recent years the property became into disrepair, and I think actually was assessed by the town, by the city, as a vacant property, and there were extra taxes or penalties paid at the time of closing when Affordable Properties purchased the property. Affordable is owned by Steve Torrey, and the next prior deed to this closing had a perimeter description, which under the current law and interpretation by the court merged those lots into one lot. So we found out a year or so ago that the board, although historically used to allow variances in a situation where there were two lots of record, because of the running description, no longer would do that. So back in May, Affordable Housing bought these two parcels, which were combined into one deed, and at the closing, Steve Torrey took title separately to Lot 35, which is right here. So there is a deed on record for the two lots, and immediately thereafter there's a deed for Lot 35 from Affordable Housing into Steve Torrey. So there now are two lots of record, which is what we used to do, but we don't do anymore, so now we separate the lots. The first thing that Mr. Torrey and Affordable did was attack this house, which was in deplorable condition, needed an entire rework, electrical, plumbing, the whole thing, from soup to nuts, a total rebuild. So that deplorable house is now coming into shape and looking pretty good, and will look great as Mr. Torrey always does with his properties. This garage was a single car garage with an extra work shed or something on the side. That's been raised and taken away, so that no longer is there. And what is proposed is to grant a variance for this lot, which is Lot 35, containing 7,000 538 square feet. The lot with the existing home on it contains 7,516 square feet. So they're about the same size. And the proposed home meets all of the front yard setbacks, the side yard setbacks. It's an old farm-styled home with 3 bedrooms. How many baths? 2.5 baths, full basement? Full basement. And a nice farmer's porch on the front. I remember years ago, back in the day, so to speak, everybody was coming into Brockton with front-to-back splits and, trying to squeeze them into these lots. And Mr. Galligan suggested to me that I go out and find a design of a house that would work. And I talked to Jay Gormley, my friend, and he came up with a plan of a house that looks like that. And I remember in the middle of the hearing, one of the board members stopped me and he says, I'm not going to tell you we're going to approve this case, but that's a nice change. And from that, I called that the Gormley house. That came in 20 years ago and has been, somebody stole my plan actually of the rendering of the house. Or I loaned it out and maybe Azu took it. But in any event, this house fits nicely on this lot. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, full basement, nice parking for 2 cars, side to side. It'll be fully landscaped, of course. The landscaping in the driveway area will be removed. There'll be more landscaping and et cetera here. It meets all of the side yard, front yards, backyard setbacks. And this will be a typical Steve Torrey affordable housing, nice-looking home when it's done. So this is going to be a significant improvement to the neighborhood. The hardship is that we started with a run-down, dilapidated home that the city didn't condemn, but said, hey, we got a big problem here. And he bought the property. There had been several potential buyers, and over time, everybody saw that this is a bigger project than normal for this type of property. And Steve picked it up with his company and is moving forward. So with that, we respectfully request a variance for the frontage, lot size, and I think we're going to request for a 13A lot width.
Lot width.
Yeah. So that's it.
So can you be a little more elaborate on the hardship on this piece of property that's going to be developed?
So, well, yeah, this is, first of all, in the general area, the lots are, this is an old plan from the Registry of Deeds going back, they used to call it Douglas Park, 1892. So this was, at one point, these 2 lots were separately assessed and separately taxed, and at some point they merged. And quite frankly, I'm not sure why. My understanding is that the prior owner, which I've never had contact with, thought that this was a buildable lot. It didn't have any structure on it, kept it open, vacant. And over time, though, the gentleman became elderly and the property became into disrepair. So it started to become a hardship in the neighborhood as an unsightly and disturbing situation. So the hardship is that we're taking this from a bad situation and improving it considerably. And the size of the lot, the lot 35, which would be typical of all of these other lots, now it's basically a double lot. And we're just looking for relief to grant that to be a buildable lot. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think we just need a little clarification on the lot in question.
Well, the lot in question, it's
which is the lot 35, and
it's now separately owned. And so lot 35 I actually haven't been out there, but it's been described to me as it had become overgrown, unsightly, and as often is the case, you know, debris ends up in the property, and you get problems with a vacant lot. And so that becomes the hardship on the lot. And also the fact that the existing home really became in total disrepair, and so the hardship is really on both parcels, and that Mr. Torrey has taken the existing home, brought it into compliance with what we'd like to see in the city of Brockton, and is looking to build a home on the vacant lot, which now that it's in separate ownership, we don't want to leave it that way, so that becomes a hardship.
Very good. Board members, any questions?
You know, you never used to ask about hardship back in the day.
I'm changed. Board members, all set? Okay. While we're in the public discussion, I just would like to say that my experience with Mr. Torrey, he does build a very quality building, and to his credit, whatever the project is, when it's done, it usually is what was presented at the zoning board. So,
Right. Thank you.
okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That completes the public discussion on the issue. I will now open it up for board member discussion. Board members.
Well, seeing how it's a separate lot and different ownership, a vacant lot like that, we know how they fare in the city. So for that reason, I have no problem supporting it.
I think, too, the design of the house, the narrow, when Mr. McCluskey spoke of the raised ranch and the front-to-back split, that was like, it's a longer, a wider house. And this fits that property line better. I think it'll adhere. That end of Hovenden Avenue is a lot of 1.5s, 2.5s, and houses of that nature. Once you get up further up, obviously you start getting into a lot of campies. But down that end, you're in that style home, so it'll fit with the neighborhood.
If a house was to be built on a long, narrow existing lot, it makes a lot of sense to put a house of this style on that lot. And we've seen throughout the city a lot of experiments on different houses that fit on lots where they probably should have never been put. And this one seems to be a dwelling that is designed for a long, narrow lot.
You make a motion to grant?
So we will be voting on granting a variance for lot size, lot frontage, and lot width.
I'll second.
Somebody make a motion?
Yep.
Yes.
And you second it. Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to grant the variance. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, that is a vote, 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition as presented is granted.
Thank you very much. And come by and see it when it's done.
That is the final case for the evening.
Motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I'm going to slow Sweeney down here. Just keep in mind that next month, at the August meeting, we need to take a vote on chairman and vice chairman of the board, so be prepared. Bring your candidate next month.
I got him.
All right, we'll do.
Right at him. He's got a great flat top.
Motion has been made to, adjourn?
The microphone.
We are adjourned. Shut the mic off.